Hello, everyone. So I decided today that I recently read The Underground Railroad, and I also recently read James by Percival Everett. The Underground Railroad is by Colson Whitehead, and I have been on a one of my goals is to read more award winners by Black authors, and so I already wanted to read James because it's just been such a hot book this year. But I had really been avoiding the Underground Railroad and a lot of other award winning books because they all tend to deal with Black trauma and slavery. And that just isn't always something that I want to um, delve into when I'm reading. However, in my goal to read more Black authors, I've kind of just gotten over that. And I think somebody I know made a quote or made a comment that if they went through it, we can witness it. And that's true. I just think it's unfortunate that so many of our like really highly regarded books by Black authors are dealing with Black trauma. And my supposition is not based on any data, but just living life in America, I feel like uh, Black authors don't get a chance to get their regular stories about regular Black life um, published. I think in order to get published, or there's a nod to getting published, if the story deals with something that the publishers, who are overwhelmingly white, kind of see as a Black issue. So, we're not really seen as just people with people issues that we could go on all these, have all these great stories. We're seen as Black, and so what we talk about needs to be Black, the things that make us uniquely, our unique Black culture in America. So enough of that rant, but I'm dealing with it. So what I wanted to do as I was reading these two books, I was like, man, they are really similar. And so I just kind of wanted to go over the similarities that I see. And I think you should read both of these books if you haven't already. I think they're great. I hope that James wins the National Book Award. Colson Whitehead, his Underground Railroad, already won, so that's wonderful. So both of these stories, I don't know where to put them. Um, Here's James by Percival Elliott. Both of these stories um, deal with slavery and running away from enslavement. So that's number one, one of the big similarities. They're both adventure stories, uh, but with this added element of torture and murder, kind of this threat of torture and murder and extreme violence. If these were like white adventure stories, they would be great adventure stories. Like they're great stories, great characters, lots of action, very page turnery. Um, but on top of that, we have, the threat of murder and the threat of torture for no reason. So that part is a little bit hard. Um, let's see. So the main character, one of the differences is the main character in the Run Underground Railroad is a female. There's a lot of male characters in here, but the main character is a female, which was pretty cool. And the main character of James, of course, is James. Um, both of the books illustrate different aspects of slavery on their adventures. So they're both really good adventure stories. So, because they're about them running away from slavery, there's a lot of kind of a trip involved as they're going through what they're going through. And so some of the things, I don't want to say which one is in which book because I don't want to give things away, but there were a lot of, it was a very good vehicle, this adventure in running away from enslavement stories are a very good vehicle to really highlight different aspects of the enslavement system and the experience of being enslaved in America. And so some of the things that kind of came through either one of these books are were things like minstrelsy. So that was something that came up in one of the books. Breeding, so breeding slaves. Code switching was another big theme. So, how you present yourself with your peers versus how you present yourself with your so called master. Um, let's see, forced sterilization, that came up as a theme in one of the books. Also, the white attitude of civilizing and Christianizing slaves, that came up as well. Um, enslaving freed people, so that came up. So even if you were born as a free person, or you had gotten your freedom some kind of way, there was always this constant threat of just either being a victim of violence because you're black, or just being completely re-enslaved. um, of course, lynching played a role in both of these books, as they've played a huge role in black history. um, let's see, the depths of violence that people were willing to go to for really insignificant reasons. Just the whole idea of control, as violence as a form of control, and just the really sickening, violent things that were done. People being emasculated, castrated, and then stuffed in their mouth, their genitals stuffed in their mouth, and then sewn shut, and then lit on fire. Just all these just horrible things. Being lynched because you stole a pencil. um, yeah, there was a lot. There was a lot there. um, Black founded towns, so that came up as people escaping and then finding their own towns that they govern themselves as a way to be safe and prosper. Disruption of the black family, those were huge themes in the books. Your mom or your father being sold or running away, um, or because they could pass, you're estranged because of that reason. Um, there was a lot of that. And then just in both of the books, there was, of course, one of the themes is how do you keep your humanity when you're being treated so inhumanely. So when you're being treated and considered as property, how you're able to keep yourself um, humane. And then found family was also a big theme, because your family may have been sold, your parents may have been sold, you may have been sold, and other people's parents may have been sold. And so how you go about finding family, raising kids that aren't necessarily your biological kids, and making community uh, within that was also a theme that came up. So I think those were the big ones. And I know there's a lot of other books that center slavery as a main kind of plot point. And so I will be continuing to read all of those books. I have to say, I probably need to spread them out. It's just really heavy to read all of those, to read them kind of back to back to back to back. Um, I do want to thank my ancestors for going through what you had to go through so that I'm able to sit here and to choose and to curate how I interact with the brutal history that you went through. So I feel like everything I do, from the moment I wake up in the morning um, to being able to read a book, is an act of resistance and is paying homage to what you suffered. So thank you. And that's it for today. Until the next video. All right, take care.